And we are live. You can catch us on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, and Instagram. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll be right back with you, Howlers. How's over Baz? I'm Jacob Casas.
And I'm Rico Savage.
And this episode is called Cerial Entrepreneur. So I'm going to let Rico do his little thing right now. We got some giveaways today. So go ahead, Rico.
Yeah, so for all the followers, we're giving away 2 free tickets to Electrofest. It's a big rave in Norco that's going on March 30th. So basically, in order to win or to
win a ticket,
you should subscribe on the YouTube, follow the IG, House Over Baz IG, and then comment 3 friends on the post, and then we will pick a winner.
And we're going to give 2 tickets away for this episode. So good job, Rico. Look at you. Killing it. So we got a special guest today. A friend of mine told me that we need to get him on. She had a lot of good things to say about him. I'm going to let him introduce himself and do his thing.
Yeah, so my name's Harold Walters. I'm a CEO of a restaurant called Shoots. We're a multi-location restaurant, started in SoCal during the pandemic. Before that, I was an internet marketer, mainly in e-commerce. Generated my first 6 figures in e-commerce back in 2017. I'm a consultant. I consult for multiple different restaurants all across the country, and also a business consultant and marketing consultant as well.
So you're really diverse in restaurants then, because if you're doing consulting. So, I mean, first off, how did you get in the restaurant business? Because I heard that's a really hard business to get into.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny because when I first jumped into it, I didn't really consider it I was like, why do people say this is so hard? It's actually kind of easy. But it's really one of those businesses that as you continue to go through it, and if you want to grow at scale, you do start to see how hard it is as you grow, you know. But how I got into it, so like I said, I literally had no food experience whatsoever. I never even worked inside of a restaurant. All my experience was in business, internet marketing, and technology. And I had 3 childhood friends who were in the restaurant space. They worked in culinary business and things like that. And we just started reconnecting. We had never talked about doing business at all, ever. And then we basically got hit with an opportunity, essentially. So we met at a bar, the same bar I met you at, actually.
Oh, really?
At Grappel, yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. Literally, we met at that bar in March of 2019. So about 5 years ago now.
That's where it started.
Yeah, and that's where we came up with the idea.
Knows your name, man.
Nah, facts. We were sitting at a table just like this, and we're just like, yo, let's start a restaurant. So
give us a little bit of a little step by step of how you went about that. I feel like that's really good for an audience to hear, just a little bit of a step by step. Obviously,
how you
bullet point to style. How did you? Okay, so you're like, okay, let's start a restaurant.
Yeah.
Idea, the logo. I mean, all that kind of the branding, because we all know that it's like the funnest part until it's time to open the restaurant, and then you got to do the work.
Right.
But give us a little rundown on how that went down.
Yeah, so it was super unconventional. We literally just jumped in. It was. So one of my partners, he was starting his first restaurant. It's in Chino called Mad Bun. Okay. So he was starting that, and it was 2018. He was about to launch it, right? So after he opened it, the person that helped him sign his lease and whatnot, she was like, "Hey, I have this other location that's coming up. It's a food hall called Rodeo 39, and it was going to be over there near Garden Grove." Uh-huh. And we didn't even know where it was at. It wasn't even built. It was literally still an abandoned building. And so we just were like, well, we've been talking about doing a restaurant, I think it's time to make something happen. And I'm like, and they came to me and was like, hey, do you want to help as far as marketing and the business side goes and whatnot? So I was like, yeah, let's get it. Why not? So when we started getting into it, it was literally like, yo, we got this potential lease on the table that we can sign for this location.
Was it a good price, a good lease?
Bro, we didn't know anything. Like, at the time, it was like, I knew nothing about restaurant leasing, commercial, real estate, construction, anything like that. So in my mind, I'm just like, okay, where's the location? We low-key thought it was like in Huntington Beach, but it was really like right off the 22 and Beach Boulevard, which is like in Stanton. Does he even know where Stanton is?
No, I don't know.
Exactly.
I know
No one.
That's like a bad area, though, right? That
It kind of yeah. A lot of homeless, a lot of like prostitution, extortions happening in that area. Yeah, like literally, it's like a 1.5 mile radius city, right?
From where you guys are at.
That's where we are. Like our
okay.
restaurant's in Stanton, but it's border Stanton and Garden Groves. So, anyways, we have the food halls on the table. They gave us like, the renders. Here's what it's gonna look like and whatnot. And so we were like, okay, like let's do it. So, but we didn't have a brand. So at that table, we came up with, all right, we're gonna do Hawaiian food because that was one of my partner's like culinary project.
You didn't even have the
We didn't even know.
What kind of food that you guys want to do? So it could have been American, Mexican, Italian.
So it was gonna be Hawaiian. Yeah,
we picked Hawaiian like last minute. That's
like
crazy.
kind of just like, yo, like this is what we can do for
That's
it.
what one of your friends. He was a chef, or you said culinary.
It was in culinary school. That was his like final project, was basically, I'm gonna create a Hawaiian food restaurant. It's gonna be in Cerritos, California,
What'd you guys
or something
call
like
it?
that. So we called it Shoots.
Shoots.
And the way we came up with the name was like, none of us are Hawaiian, so we went online and started searching like, well, what are Hawaiian terms and slang and stuff like that, and literally we just came up with the name, mocked up a logo, and then we did a tasting like maybe like a week and a half later or something, put together a menu and had the broker come check it out and whatnot.
And how long ago was this?
This was March 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so 5 years.
Yeah,
Still going?
Yeah, we got 3 locations now.
You want to say the locations?
Yeah, so 3 locations. We got one in the original one in Stanton. We have Ontario, and then which is in Ontario Ranch, not far from here, and then we have Long Beach, and we got 2 more opening in this year, probably in the next 3 or 4 months. So
I was going through your Instagram a little bit, and I see you guys were working on something.
Yeah,
so that's what it is.
That's the San Juan Capistrano location.
Okay. Well, that's gonna be a good one.
We're going to go to the one in Ontario, the close one.
Yeah. Yep.
So, when you were getting all this done and trying to get all this taken care of, where'd you guys come up with the funds to do this?
So
viewers can kind of know if they want to start something up, like, this is something that,
Yeah, a lot of people think like getting into the restaurant space is like super expensive, which it can be. I mean, relatively it is expensive compared to a lot of other businesses, but so we actually opened up the first location. We signed the lease and had all the construction done, design and everything for the first location for only $26,000. Now, usually if you want to go get a restaurant and like it's like a brick and mortar spot where you build it out, you're going to be paying anywhere between $200,000 to maybe up to $1 million.
I know a barbershop that was like $100,000.
Exactly.
Now it's cheap. So
right.
You guys did that well.
So does that work? Well, does that work for chains also? Like if you say if you want to buy like a Chick-fil-A.
If you want to buy a Chick-fil-A, well, Chick-fil-A is different.
Cheap. I heard it's not even as much as, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Chick-fil-A is different because Chick-fil-A is it's a franchise, but it's a Chick-fil-A is like a their franchisees are actually more like employees in a sense.
Oh, okay.
So you can pay $10,000 to basically become a franchisee, but you can only have that one location. But if you want to be like a McDonald's franchisee or a Dave's Hot Chicken franchisee, you can actually buy multiple locations and like you own it. Like it's different, but you're going to pay much more up front.
More than 10.
Yeah. But and you're going to pay construction costs. So the reason why ours was so cheap is because we went into a food hall. So that's really the hack. Like if anyone wants to like start a restaurant, like look into food halls because your rent might be more expensive, but your startup costs are going to be a lot cheaper to get in.
Because there's other ones.
I would have never known that. That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. Like even like
food
in
court.
malls, food court, like stuff like that. It's just way cheaper to start.
Yeah. Well, even the malls are more expensive than that because the mall, like, they're not going to cover any of your build-out cost or anything like that.
They're trying to tax you. Huh?
Yeah, but they covered everything, like design, architect, all of that, construction costs. Like literally, that $26,000 was our first first opening cost. The only thing we had to pay outside of that was our equipment, which was like maybe another 50 grand. So all in, we were like 75,000 all in.
Stuff?
Yep. Okay. Stoves and, the fryers, things like that. But everything else, HVAC ran, all of that was already taken care of for the first location.
So if you were to, like for our viewers, if you were to tell them what would be the best way to start to open up a restaurant, would you suggest that way of trying to do like more of like a food court type style? And
yeah.
What kind of advice would you give them?
I mean, if your issue is like cash and you're not really sure what your first step is, like look into a food hall. Like go to your city planning and development site in your area and see what's being built. Like all that stuff's public information for the most part. Like you can go and see who's building what locations, go reach out to the developer, find out who the broker is, and just say, hey, I got a concept. Now, you obviously got to show up and show out. Like, if you don't have any contact, we had a contact, so that's my biggest thing is networking, right? Like, you got to figure out who's going to be the mover and the shaker in that area so that they can basically be the gateway for you. Mm-hmm. But if you don't have that, then you got to go build those connections so that you could easily get it in.
Yeah, pay attention to what he just said on that, because that's a big deal. I mean, I wouldn't have even been in this building without networking. I had a tiny little building,
Yeah.
So, I mean, networking is literally everything. Networking and sales is key in any type of business.
Yeah, facts.
So, is your business franchised out now, or are all those ones that you have, are they all just your guys'?
We own all of them. They're all owner operated. Yeah.
Are you looking at any time soon to franchise, or you just want to keep having them all as your own?
Right now, we just want to keep them as their own as we really figure out the operations, get everything dialed in. Make sure we don't have any we just want to make sure this thing is solid. So we're building it as if we were going to build it to franchise, because whether or not we franchise it or not, the operations got to be locked in. Every location has to have a certain amount of profit coming into it and whatnot. Otherwise, no franchisee is going to even want to get into it. And then right now, we're just being mindful of how we expand, because a lot's shifting. $20 minimum wage is happening right now in April, actually. So any restaurant that has over 100 locations has to pay a $20 minimum wage in California.
I didn't know that at all either.
That has 100 locations?
Yep. If you have 100 locations, $20 minimum wage.
You guys are
we're solid, but it still impacts us, because now it's like an employee is going to say,
I'd rather go somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so I didn't even think about that.
So
that makes a lot of sense.
So beyond that, what's minimum wage? Is what?
16.
Yeah, minimum wage is messing all of us.
16.50 if you have more than 25 employees.
Damn. So how do you think that's going to affect you guys? Are you guys prepared for that?
Man, it's funny. I was literally just yesterday. I met with because I know the guy. Nectar, the smoothie shop. They got a bunch of them around here. Yeah. I know the guy that owns all the Nectars in the Inland Empire, and he was telling me right now he has employees that literally are telling him already
about pay.
Yeah, if you guys don't pay more, or all of Nectar's corporate is saying the same thing. Hey, if you guys don't pay more, then we're just gonna go find another job somewhere else. Damn. If you guys don't basically do the same thing. And so, but he said also it's gonna take a year for us to really get a baseline and see how does this really impact us, Yes. Because even in COVID, Panda Express, McDonald's, all of them were paying. They were bumping their pay up $19, $20 because everyone was having a hard time finding employees during the pandemic. And so, but that still really didn't impact us. I think the thing that's going to separate us is, just being a cool brand, a young brand, being different, and just their culture in general. So we're not really worried about it right now. We're just going to kind of see what happens and see how it goes.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it, because if you panic, what's that going to do for you besides make you
rush
panic?
Rush into things that you might not even have to do.
Facts. Making decisions without data, we don't do that.
It's the same thing with my business. Payroll is different for me because I have under a certain amount of employees. You have under I think it's 27 employees or 28 employees. Your minimum wage is different.
Right.
So it's better, but at the same time, they're paying a lot more at other places. But when they pay that amount, for my industry, you're stuck at that pay for years. So with us, we keep giving you raises as long as they keep making us money.
Right.
So there's different advantages in it, and I feel like if you kind of explain that to your employees too, there's more room for growth because you guys are a smaller business. There's more room for management and even being in the background at some point. You know what I mean? You never know what you can be. So it just depends on how you're leading the crew.
Right. Yeah. You gotta. It's all about. It's all marketing too, internal and external. Like, how are you talking to your team? What are they hearing and what are they understanding? Because I've worked at jobs where it's like you don't know what's going on inside the company, you know, and that creates uncertainty. Yeah. So,
I mean, that's legit. I was just having a conversation with another entrepreneur about that, and if you're going to go out there, it really is like depending on how you treat your employees, how you deal with them.
Yeah.
Because you're going out there, you're trying to hustle that customer, or get that account, or whatever you're trying to do, and you put all that time and work into that. And at some point, a lot of people forget about the employees. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm going to say me for one. You know, you forget that you got to put that time into them too,
right? Because
they could just bounce, and you can have some really good employees.
Yeah.
Be like, man, I can get more. Well, sometimes
not one of those though.
Not one of those.
This kind of and then this happens where the workforce is just terrible now, mm-hmm. and you got to really think, man, like you can't just because back when I first started this business, I could just fire and hire like that. It was easy for me. I had like 30 applications on deck at all times.
Right.
Now I'm lucky if I get one or two.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then they don't know nothing, so I'm sure you got to deal with that too, like finding good employees that are not coming in late and doing all that stuff. It's a big deal.
Facts. Yeah, and the world's shifted too. Like
big time.
People can go get on Uber, DoorDash, and be getting paid in a minute, like literally 30 minutes quick application. Mm-hmm. So it's like, why would they come work when it's like they can get paid other ways?
What are for people who don't know about the food industry or want to start something, like what's 2 or 3 major things that they should know coming in, like they're gonna have to like deal with, like what are the things that they need in order to start, like what are they, like some of the key things that they need?
Yeah, so I think one big thing is actually understanding what your brand is, like create a pitch deck for your brand. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of people don't do that. They just try and they think that it's all about just making the food and making the food look good and whatnot. But it's like if you have a good, nice little presentation of this is what we do. Like, I would say this, if you're, like, considering getting into the food game and you already have a menu, you already know, like, what it is that you want to cook, like, actually really put together that menu as if you were to start a restaurant. And I think the big thing is everyone just gets stuck. And I'll just leave it at that. It's like most people just don't take action. Like, the rest of the stuff you figure out as you go. That's what we did. Like, we didn't know what the 3 steps were. It was just we put our backs against the wall.
Just did it.
And was like, we have no choice but to keep moving. We signed the lease. You know, and I think a lot of people aren't willing to, like, I'm a very unconventional entrepreneur, bro. Like, I'm stupid. Like, I'm literally an idiot. Like, so, but it's just because that's what makes me keep going, you know?
Trial and error.
Yeah, just trial and error. Like, you figure it out.
Well, most entrepreneurs are C students. I don't know if you know that.
Right.
And
I was C plus.
Yeah, I was a dropout. I was a high school dropout.
I was C plus. Watch your mouth.
Yeah.
But like that's I feel like that's the difference is we don't a lot of entrepreneurs aren't really good with authority, and so they want to do their own shit, and that's how it usually ends up happening.
Right.
But, I mean, that works. I mean, because you know how resilient those kind of people are too. Yeah. So if we're resilient towards that, we're going to be resilient to keeping our business rolling.
Right. Facts. You know facts. I mean? Yeah.
So I want to kind of go into this too. So let's just do this. So how did you know that you were going to be an entrepreneur? Because every entrepreneur has some type of like something in them to say, hey, you know what? I don't want to work for anybody anymore. I want to try this. Because so many people are, I'm sure you know this, they're sheep, they're baz.
Yeah.
They're not going to even take that leap. But what made you take that leap?
Man, so I've kind of always had the bug, right? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs do already have that in a sense before they go ahead and jump into it, right? And so for me, it started really when I was having my first child, right? That was when it was like the not necessarily, that's not what just made me jump into entrepreneurship, but it was the part where I was like, wait a minute, this whole thing of trying to figure out how to go to school and like how to climb the corporate ladder, this is not going to work anymore because now I have a time issue. Like, I don't have enough time.
Mouth to feed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't have enough time to play this game anymore.
And be a father.
And be a father.
Good father.
Right.
father that's there for their kid.
Right, fact.
You know what I mean?
That's gonna, I'll get to that about part in a second.
We definitely got to.
So so I had I jumped in. I was in basically my career before was I was in the web hosting space. So technology. I worked basically as a customer success engineer for like some pretty decent sized web hosting companies.
And a dropout, he said. So just
I was a high school dropout. Yep.
And he's still doing his thing. Like he's still, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So keep going. I wanted people to pay attention to that. You know?
Right. Yeah. Is he still mic'd up?
I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm mic'd up. Maybe it's on you. He said he can't hear me.
Testing. I can hear me.
Oh, there. Yeah.
I can hear everything. Can you hear me?
No.
Can you
We'll
hear
just
yourself?
keep going.
Yeah, we'll just keep going.
Keep it going.
All right, cool. So yeah, you're right. I dropped out of high school, but while I was in high school, I used to make money online. Like I started making my first money online when I was like 15. But I just didn't really believe in, like, I didn't know that I could actually start a business doing what I was doing, and no one believed in me. Like everyone that was in my family was kind of like, "What are you doing?" Yeah, like you're failing all your classes.
Yeah.
It's always the people closest to you that are like that are the haters or that, and it's usually sometimes it's not just because they want to hate. It's just because they don't understand.
And it's because a lot of people go off of. Oh, you can't do it because I couldn't do it.
Right.
And then that's the main thing. They didn't do it, so they think that you can't do it, and they're gonna put it off on you. And then some people just stop their dreams because of shit like that.
You know how many entrepreneurs we get in here that say that, man. They say that that the strangers are their biggest fans.
Yeah.
Right.
And the people closest to them just turn their back on them when they're doing that.
Facts.
So get into that a little bit.
Yeah. So,
Your family will,
Yeah. So my family was really just kind of like, what are you doing? You're failing all your classes. This doesn't make sense. I had an uncle who was like, yeah, like this ain't gonna last.
And you're 15 at the time, right?
I'm like 15 and a half, yeah. And I remember I got my first like $300 check from Google. And that's a whole nother story. But like, I'm like, that's my clothes money right there, you know, for the school year.
J's.
Yeah, exactly. That's a pair of J's. That's 3 pairs of J's back then.
Yeah.
So anyway, so fast forward, now I'm about to get married, right? And I had kind of been working odd jobs, like I was doing like telecommunications and stuff, working odd jobs. I was driving a lot, things like that. And I was like, man, if I'm really about to get married, like I gotta figure this out. Like, how am I really gonna be able to provide? I need insurance, stuff like that, you know? So I'm like, let me go get a job, like working at a desk or doing what I used to do, you know? Because I know how to make money online, or I've done stuff online. So that's what I started doing. And so I'm working this tech job. I'm taking phone calls all the time. And these customers are calling, and they all have websites, right? So every time they call, I'm talking, and one of them would be like, or a bunch of them would be like, man, like I paid $3,000 for this trash website. It doesn't work. And I'm like, you paid $3,000 for this website?
You're like, what the heck?
I was
I
like,
can do
yeah,
that for you
like,
myself.
maybe
Like-
I could do that. Like let me figure this out. So then I started in that journey, and that was kind of like when the bug hit again. Like, oh shoot, like there's more opportunity than what I'm doing here, right? And so it was kind of like this progressive thing that happened. It was like I remember I got a raise, and it was literally we were at a conference table like this, and my supervisor, you know, had like a little evaluation with me like 90 days in, and at the end of it, he flicked me a quarter, and he was like, "That's your raise, brother. Like, you got a 25-cent raise." And I was just like, what the?
That shit hurt just hearing that. Just
Yeah, bro.
But hey, that's disrespectful for him to even do that.
Yeah.
I
Like,
want to lay him out right there where he stood.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like,
Right.
that's like a joke, dude. For him
yeah.
to do that to you.
And it was. And at that moment, I was just like I was pissed, but at the same time, I kind of felt like I didn't have any leverage in this moment.
I know.
You
and
know?
That's the bass. That's the sheep.
That's the sheep, man,
Yeah.
bro. Like, real talk is, and I feel like that's where a lot of people are stuck. Is just like at the end of the day, you feel like a slave, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, you're a slave to that situation, because that's what's providing for you, I guess, at the end of the day,
moment.
quote unquote. And so
What a dick! You should shout that motherfucker
Whoever
out.
you
Like,
are,
what's his
whoever
name?
you
he'll,
are,
he'll
You,
know.
motherfucker.
He'll know. It's
Flip that
actually
quarter.
funny, bro. It's funny. Like it is what it is. Because like at the end of the day, like I remember. So, anyways, I end up getting another job, right? In that same space. He gets fired, right? He gets fired like maybe like 6 months later or something like that, right?
As he
And
should.
then I end up working at the same company that he ends up going to work at, right? Because I go to get another job. Because I'm still thinking, like, let me make more money, you know?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So I get another job that pays me more money. And I end up getting promoted at that job, and he actually works there too, and he's still in the same position that I was in.
It's under you.
Yeah, exactly. It was crazy.
I would have walked by and flipped his ass a quarter.
Like, give me a soda, bitch.
Facts. But anyways, so
I'm gonna start flipping motherfuckers quarters.
so it's mad disrespectful.
Yeah.
But so after that, right? So I get another job because, like I said, I was really on this like climb the corporate ladder thing.
Yeah.
I get another job. I'm getting paid really well. Like at the time, like almost $100,000 a year. I'm working from home. But the day I get the job, I remember like calling my friend who helped me get it, and I was like, bro, not the day, but like 3 days later, I'm like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. Like, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to stay here or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, I still just didn't have that belief that I can do it. And at this point, bro, 6 months later, I had made my first $100,000 doing e-commerce drop shipping.
And back then,
No
that
shit.
back
And
then
you
that
still
was a
didn't
lot.
think you could
Yeah.
do it?
That was
That's
back in
crazy.
2017.
And you still thought you couldn't do it.
Yeah, in January 20. Well, I kept telling myself I could,
Yeah.
right? So
You're
here's
scared to,
one
like,
thing I'll
take that
say
leap.
for like people that want to like take that leap, right? At the end of the day, like this is what I look at. This is how I look at it. At the end of the day, you're where you're at because of the choices that you make, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why you make certain choices is because of what you believe, right? But what makes a belief? So I look at belief is made by repetition. So like, what do you experience? Like, what are you continuously hearing over and over again? What's the TV telling you? What your teacher's telling you? What your parents telling you?
Friends, yeah.
Right. So if you keep hearing over and over again that this is the way that you make it in life, like you're literally being programmed,
Yeah.
right? And then the next thing is social proof. That's so who's close to you that's telling you the same thing. Like how much authority do you give that person? Like, is it your parent, your best friend, whoever it is? Which is why we got to
Social
surround
media.
ourselves around people
Howlers,
that
the
are
pack.
exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? And that's
Right.
what we were talking about right before the podcast. Is why'd you start this? And I was saying that, well, networking and being around other entrepreneurs, when you speak to them, it like levels you up, and it's
Right.
like, it almost levels everybody.
Iron
up.
sharpens iron.
Facts.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yep.
That's what it is, and that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the second thing that goes into a belief, and the third thing that goes into a belief is emotional bias. So what experience did you have, and how much weight do you give it because of how close you are to it, right? So basically, like, what's the why for you to even believe that this is what you should do? And my problem was I didn't have that. Like, I didn't have a deep enough why for me to just say, this job is not worth it anymore. Like, I was around the people, I was watching the podcast, I was listening to the books, and it was a long process. It was like probably a couple years of just reading books, listening to podcasts, watching stuff on YouTube, right? But what happened here was the shift, right? Do you guys know who Draco the Ruler is?
Yeah.
Rapper? So he's my brother. That's my half brother.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
shit.
Same mom, different dads, right? So I was working at this job. I'm working from home. I'm getting paid well. This is after I did the $100,000 and all that. And at the time, my brother was on trial. He had like just got indicted. He was on trial. Like it was his first trial date for that whole, RICO charge and all that was going on. So I go drive down there to Compton Courthouse to visit or to go watch the trial with my mom. And at the time, a lot of people don't know this story, but my mom ended up losing her job and was in jail for 3 days because they raided my mom's house, her and my sister. And so I'm down there with her. I pick her up. Mom doesn't drive. After the case or the trial date, I drive her back home. And on the way home, she's telling me like, I lost my job. I'm not going to have enough. Daryl that's Draco's name, his real name. Daryl can't send me money anymore to pay for my rent, and I don't know what to do, right? And so, I drop her off at church, and then on the way home, I'm heading back because I got to go get back to work, right? Mm-hmm. And on the way home, I'm just like, man, like I'm in this place where I work at this job, where no matter how many hours I put in here, I'm not going to be able to make more money. Like I'm literally limited to how much money I can make based on my time. And that was the that was the emotional bias, that why that I needed that just made it click. Like, wait a minute, this don't make no sense. Like, I literally cannot get to where I want to go and help the people that I want to help working at a job. And so I literally went home. I told my wife, I said, this is it. Like, what I'm going to do, because I was having a baby in 2 weeks. So I was like,
I scared the shit out of her.
Yeah, this is my second baby, right? I'm about to have my second kid. So in 2 weeks, we're having our second kid. And I'm like, no, and I had a plan. I was like, come on now, I'm an entrepreneur. So I think creative. I thought creatively back then. I said, look, we about to go this 2 weeks and milk this next 6 weeks, 2 months of paternity leave. And we going to work and figure this thing out. And then I'm going to quit. I got fired the next day.
Damn.
Shit.
Yeah.
What happened?
Because I took some time off again, and my team was mad at me. I had unlimited time off, but I was taking so much of it off because I was working on my business while at the job.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where it's just
you can actually sue them for that, but yeah, I'm sure you know that now after the fact.
Yeah, well, they said it was more performance or whatever, and they did right by me. It was a great, honestly, great company. I love them. I'm not even gonna act as if it was a problem. They even offered to keep my insurance and all that for a month, make it look like I got fired a little bit later, but that was the thing I needed. It was
a push. That was that push.
That was that push because I didn't want to do it, but I had made the decision in that moment. It was a mix of that and it was a belief, repetition. It was just continuously experiencing, waking up in the morning and my daughter coming to me saying, "Can we play? Can we play longer?" And no, I can't. I got to go to work. That alone is enough for me to be I'm never going back.
Yeah.
See,
we got a similar story on that. So when I started my shop, I had it open for a little bit, a few months, and we were just doing little things, and I was doing side jobs, making money. I was making way more money than my checks off one little job. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, damn, Well, the owner of the business that I was working for still, I told one of the employees that I got a shop. We're doing little things. Actually, I didn't tell him. Somebody else told him.
Yeah.
I was and that I had brought in with me. And he ended up ratting this out to the boss, which he shouldn't have had no reason to fire us. Mm-hmm. We were doing it after work.
Yeah.
But he ended up firing. He showed my paper, the name of the company. He says, "I'm firing you." I'm like, "Well, what does that have to do with you?" He ended up firing us, and that was my reason why I went in fully. And I had 2 kids.
Yeah.
And the same thing. And I was scared shitless, but at the same time, I was like, "Fuck it."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think that's what a lot of people do is they put themselves in this invisible box that's not even really there.
Facts.
Because the world makes you think that you got to live in that box.
Yep.
But you don't. There's all this freedom, but you put your own shackles on by hearing all this shit to stay there.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's literally how it works, and that's crazy shit because it's a real similar story.
Yeah, yeah.
When you go home and you see your kids and you can't chill with them or see them or hang out with them like you want to.
Yep.
That's what drives you to be better. And now I can go and I take my kids to school every morning.
Yep.
Dude, at first I'd always be rushing my ass to try to get everything done, and then I get to see them at night.
Right.
No, I enjoy all my rides to school with them.
Yeah.
We joke around, have a good time. Then I come in, get things done. You know how it is. Spend more times with your kids, and that's a true I feel like Howler, a leader.
Yeah.
And in my mind, that's a true leader because you can't not lead your kids.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're gonna let the world lead your kids. That's part of still being a leader.
Yep.
If you're not a leader at home, then you can't. You can't be a leader in the street.
Yeah,
right.
It starts at home.
Yeah,
Facts.
you have your kid, you have your wife, and you got to lead them.
Yeah.
And every man, I believe, a leader is actually the gene is in there because you got to lead their family.
Yeah.
So if you're not leading your family, you're working all the time. I mean, because that's what they trained, our grandparents, to be slaves and you got to work no matter what, how sick you are, this and that.
Right.
And they died like that.
Yeah.
I guarantee they weren't on their deathbed thinking, "Man, I wish I worked more."
Yeah.
They're like, "Damn, I wish I spent more time with my family." You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's how I think. I'm I want to spend time with my family.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can still work like this and have fun doing it though.
Yep.
Find the fun in it. And make as much money as you want. Don't live check to check.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I want to ask you, speaking of, sorry, my bad, man.
Good.
So thinking of leadership, okay? There's a question I ask a lot of entrepreneurs. We get so many different answers, and it actually makes it so good.
Yeah.
But what do you believe a leader is?
Oh man, that's a great question. I believe a leader leads themselves at the end of the day. Like a leader is someone that has, self-control, that has a vision. Because everything that like conventionally that you hear about what a leader is, they have a group of people that is leaders that follow them, and they lead them through this certain vision of where to go, and they have a mission and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's like if you need to have all of that stuff for yourself. So I believe like a leader is someone that is that has a set of values for themselves that they continuously follow and consistently follow when no one's watching. Someone that has character.
Damn, he says when no one's watching. I love that.
That's when it counts.
And that's the hardest part too. You know what I mean? Because especially as an entrepreneur, things can get a little rocky sometimes. Mm-hmm. You can go out there and just drink, or try to like get these problems away some other way.
Numb the pain, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's the point where nobody's watching, and that's the real part of what are you doing?
Right.
Like when this is happening, because at the same time you have a family.
Yeah.
So you can't just go home and drink your problems away.
Right.
But that's another question, the good question. I haven't asked anybody this, an entrepreneur. So when shit hits the fan, when things are really hard, what do you do? What is your go-to? Like, what do you do in order to soothe yourself? Like to make sure that you're going to be good. What do you go to?
Yeah, I pray.
No, that's not even that's good.
That's not funny. Yeah, I know.
I love that.
Yeah, I pray.
So tell me this then. So you pray. Like what has been the hardest thing where you feel like you really, really needed to pray? Like put yourself in a position where things were getting pretty rough and you had to pray to God. Like what was your prayer?
Yeah. So I've had multiple moments of that. First off,
okay.
Like and I'll say this before answering that question is that a lot of people are afraid to get into entrepreneurship because they're like, man, it's going to be hard. And like the truth is this mess doesn't get easier.
No.
Like
the higher up you go.
The higher up you go. Like
easy.
Yeah, that's anything that you've never done before. You're gonna have to you're gonna come against something that you've not experienced before, and that's gonna be hard. And your mind and your body's not gonna know what to do with that. So literally, back when was this? October? Yeah, October. Our business was in a situation like we've done very well. Like Shoots has been done very well. We're probably like above most restaurants that are in Southern California. But we had a lot of issues that just caused us to be in a place where financially, like, I had to stop taking a salary. Like, I literally cut my salary so that everyone else on my team can continue to get paid. Even my partners, one of my partners just had a daughter, and even though I had a family, it was like I know how to figure stuff out. Not necessarily budget. It's like I'm an entrepreneur. He's not necessarily an entrepreneur like I am. Like.
All right, dude, that's badass. That's some real shit right there. I've had to do that before, but most people don't do that.
Yeah.
They don't cut their salary for their people.
Right.
Selfishness.
So that right there is badass. Keep going.
Yeah. So, but like in that, like, bro, we went through it. Like, I mean, bills caught up. Like I said, I'm constantly like, doing other things. I'm constantly investing in other stuff. I'm constantly like stretching myself, and so. It's not like I'm in this place where it's like, oh, I'm just caked up and like life is good, So like that created a lot of struggles for me and my family going into that. Like my kids go to private school. Like I pay, like everything that I'm doing is for my family and whatnot, right? I don't have a lot of leisure money. And so that was that experience where it was one of those things where like I didn't know what to do next. So I had to rely on God, and I just asked him really to help me stay present. Like that's the real thing that I usually pray for now. It used to be a lot different. I used to pray like, get me out of this situation. But now it's like, help me to be like calm in this storm. Help me to be present so I can like think straight and see what the next move is, because I know there's another way out, because he's helped me get out of it before. So why can't he help me get out of it this time?
Damn, he said, help me stay present. Yeah. I love that, dude. People need to pay attention to that.
Because a lot of us, we tend to shy away when bad things happen. We either shut down with the business, like be going through something, so you just, you know what I mean, say fuck it, you know what I mean. You keep going. You want to be present. You want, you know what I mean, wisdom. You want time. You want
Right.
I mean, that's
Facts.
big.
Facts.
Big.
Yeah, that's a. I feel like if you're a true entrepreneur, like you understand getting on your knees.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of times that's, I mean, it's bad to say that's the last resort, but it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you know that's where you got to go.
Right.
I've been in that situation too.
God humbles us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where I literally just read and prayed all day. I didn't even show up to work
Right.
because I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
I
Facts.
don't know how my business is gonna succeed.
Right.
Today, I thought it was all over.
Yeah.
And boom, something happened, and money was in the bank, and things just started going, and you got to go to God. Like,
Yeah.
You got to stop. I mean, I feel like a lot of the time, it just is what it is, man. Like, God doesn't bless you. Like you can even be doing. You feel like you're doing really well, and you're doing all the wrong things behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And you just won't be blessed the way He actually wants to bless you.
Right.
Because He's like, I'm not going to give you all this if you're doing this.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at the same time, struggles is big, dude. I mean, Jesus went through struggles.
Yep.
So I mean, his apostles went through struggles.
Right.
And how are we not going to go through them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We're supposed to go through them.
Exactly.
That's how He grows us.
That's how we grow, and,
Yeah.
and then that's how we get better. Going through all, I think about that a lot lately. Like,
Yeah.
When we're going through this struggle, I'm like, what are you trying to teach me right now?
Yeah.
Instead of being like, why? Like, okay, well, what are you trying to teach me?
Right.
And I feel like that's what I need to go to. I don't even get stressed out anymore.
Yeah.
When things go bad, I stay pretty calm.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, all right, what are you trying to teach me right now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like that's how, as an entrepreneur, that's where you gotta get to. You know
Always
what I
gonna
mean?
be a test.
Right. Facts.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
And you had to do that though, like, because you said you had a lot of times like that, and I liked how you said just keep me present, keep me here, like where my mind's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Like when I lost my job, I had $5,000 in a 401k, and I think like maybe $1,000 worth of like cash, bro. Like I literally had to figure out
with the wife and kids.
with the wife, and I was having my second kid. Like, so I'm talking about right after that, 3-day notices, you know, car loans we're getting calls for all the time. I took out a bunch of personal loans to try and help, because when I first started my e-commerce business, I didn't have credit. Like, so I'm literally like, I'm operating off all cash. I had nothing. I had to figure out what was the next thing to do.
Nobody understands the struggles of an entrepreneur. They just don't.
It's paycheck to paycheck for a while.
Even the people
Facts.
closest to you a lot of the times, because they just can't. They don't know what you're going through. It's all on your shoulders. Until
Yeah.
tell something's all on their shoulders, and they care that much about it to keep it rolling.
Right.
They'll never understand.
Yeah.
And I know you understand that just by talking to you about that.
So now, what are some of the things that you do besides the restaurant to keep you going? Because you know, a lot of entrepreneurs, you need to make more than one income.
Yeah.
Or you should. I mean, because certain things might happen.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you dived into that you're doing now?
Yeah.
As far as business, because you said you're in stocks, or what was you
Consulting. Yeah. I've done some stocks too.
Yeah,
Keep going.
Yeah. So before getting into restaurants, I did consulting for quite a bit. Like that was how I made a lot of my money back in like 2019, 2020, getting into the restaurant space. So I consulted with a lot of different like retail brands that were ready to go online, basically. So once I started the restaurant and got into that business, I wasn't always the CEO of Shoots. That's kind of happened out of happenstance. It needed to happen.
Oh, so you weren't always the CEO?
No, it was just like we co-founded it together. I was a partner originally. We invested together.
So how'd you become the CEO? Let's hear that story, man.
Man, I don't know if
somebody wasn't doing their job. Somebody
it wasn't. Like
it happens. It happens. You know what I mean? Like you said, everybody was new to it. So,
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean?
You could like water it down for us a little bit if you want.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? But I think it's good to hear for people to hear this kind of stuff.
yeah, and this stuff happens. Like
Yeah.
for anybody that wants to get in business.
He was
or
telling
is
me
in
like it's
it
business.
happens.
We're friends, but
Yeah.
it's business though.
Yeah, facts. Yeah, we basically we had some incidents that happened with who we had originally put in the lead of the company. But it was honestly on all of us. Like we kind of just in happenstance put somebody in position, right? And at the time, like, I was thinking this is kind of more like a, this isn't really going to be my thing. It's kind of like a side investment, sort of. I'm going to help with what I can, but I don't know about the restaurant business. And, we had an incident that could have been very detrimental to the company. And no one was willing to address it except for me, and it got to that point where it was just like, yeah, this has to happen. Like, we got to have this conversation. And then from there, it was also a mix of, I started to fall in love with the business because it just some straight up regular risk stuff. Like, we had an opportunity to for another location in the Bay Area, right? And I was told, like, hey, we need somebody to go out there. No one wanted to go out because of the pandemic. They're like, we don't want to fly. So I was just like, well, shoot, I'll go. I don't care. So I go fly to the Bay.
Flying for cheap too.
Yeah, I flew for mad cheap. I was the only one on the plane. I think I bought a first class ticket for like $125 or something like that. It was mad cheap. Anyways, I go up there, and this is like my first time really hanging out with like other restaurant guys. Like, and in it, like, man, I just fell in love with the business. And so it was a mix of that, and I had a lot of mentors, so I'm talking to my mentors about the business, kind of seeing, like, what should I do, how do we really create a plan for this thing and whatnot. And I started to have vision for it, and, like, the vision started to develop, and I'm starting to see, like, and then the pandemic hit, so technology hit the restaurant space like crazy. The restaurant space is way behind in terms of technology compared to other businesses. The pandemic accelerated it. So now I'm starting to see, dang, everything I learned in e-commerce is merging into this industry. So I just started to have a lot of vision.
So something you already were doing.
Right.
So now you understood a lot of other things.
I saw all the softwares. I saw all the, like, literally how everything can come together. Yeah, I could see it. Like, and no one else was seeing it.
You were ahead then.
Right. So in that case, I was like, okay, like, all right. Then the stuff started happening. Like, that was when I started recognizing, like, oh, we're having these issues. We're having partnership issues, so we had to buy out our partners. I had to be the one to have the conversation with, like, yo, we don't want you guys on board anymore. Not because they weren't valuable, but just because I didn't see the long-term vision of them being involved. So
let's address that, though. Not for their sake, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just those are a lot of businesses, a lot of people. It's really hard for them to have those conversations. They'll just let shit keep flying.
And it'll fail because of that.
And they're afraid of that. That's the true definition, I feel like, of being a howler, being a leader, is because you got to address uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're so uncomfortable, but it's part of being a man. It's part of being an entrepreneur. I mean, women have, even women would have to do it, but I'm just saying as a man, for this instance, people just don't do that. It's very difficult for people to handle that.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've always had to do that too. Just be the uncomfortable, have an uncomfortable situation. I'm so used to it now.
Right.
So, I mean, where do you think, I really want to get into that for a second. Where do you think you got that strength from to even be able to go in there? Because you were the only one that went in there and did that conversation?
Yeah.
So, first off, they picked you, or you just elected yourself? You know what? I'll do it.
It was kind of a mix of both. Like, I think me being the one to have that first conversation was part of that.
Okay.
It was like somebody's got to take the helm, and it was between me and one of my other partners. One of my other partners was kind of in between on what he wanted, and I had vision. It was like, this is where I think we should take this thing.
And you guys were all friends before, or you guys like just knew each other?
4 of us were friends, and we had 2 other partners we brought on later, and those are the ones we got bought out.
Okay.
Yeah. So as far as, what it really was, and this is my other thing I would say to people, was like, get a coach, like get or people surrounded. Yeah. At the time I was going through like a lot of personal development, like I got a lot of trauma from my past that just I had to deal with. And so in like 2020, I hired a coach. I was paying this coach more than I was paying my rent every month.
Yeah.
Like, because I needed to work through this stuff.
Like a big brother type thing, like somebody like
I'm talking about like a high level,
mentor
like
coach?
Breaking limited beliefs type of coach, like
Damn.
hypnotherapy, stuff like that. Like, so I'm working through a lot of stuff, and I had 2 businesses at the time. I had my other business, which was an e-commerce business with me and my other partner, and we were just dealing with stuff. I was dealing with stuff with him. I was dealing with stuff with my family. I was dealing with stuff with the business. So I'm constantly talking to my coach about it. Like, yo, I don't know what to address, how to address it, what I'm dealing with, why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. And it was really like him that really like talked me through a lot of these things and helped me develop more courage in myself to be able to have those conversations and help me just understand like, yo, this guy is ruining my life right now. Like, this partner is going to destroy my life, because if I'm dependent on this business and this is how he's impacting the business, and I saw it that way, but I didn't see it like to where it hit me the same way it hit me when I decided to, quit my job. So,
well, what's the crazy thing is I don't even know people that, men, especially, that's why we like this podcast a lot, that don't even take the chance to go to somebody and talk to somebody about that. We usually shy away from that kind of stuff. We try to think, we can deal with it ourselves, this and that, but things don't get handled properly.
Right.
And a lot of people are saying that when they come on this podcast, they feel like it's a safe space. And a lot of times they're like, damn, there's a lot that I can do better, or I know I can go further in my career or further in my business.
Right.
Because you're meeting with other entrepreneurs, like-minded people
Yeah.
that are strong in their mind already. And when somebody else like you just even bringing that up, because I know I got to have uncomfortable situations all the time, or conversations with people.
Yeah.
And I don't see many people doing that.
Yeah.
But you saying that is like, damn, like he understands what I'm talking about.
Right.
If I was to have a conversation with this guy, he would just get it.
Right.
Because I don't even have to say much. He's just going to understand.
Do that.
Yeah.
Facts.
So that's a good thing that you had that, because maybe you wouldn't. I feel like it's almost had to have been built in you already.
Yeah.
But he coached you through it, which is cool.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing, I'm going to say something, not to like talk mess about the coach, but a lot of the times the coach coaching won't even be able to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot of times it's like, yeah, you could do this, but they might not even be able to handle that.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's good because still for the push. It's still great for the push.
Right.
But just know you might have did some, because I've kind of been through that.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I'm doing this because I know this guy and I know he would do it.
Yeah.
And then when I talked to him about what I did, and I was like, hey man, I was able to keep my business rolling and make it through because I thought, you know what? If he had this business, what would he do? What would this guy do? And he goes, man, I wouldn't have done none of that shit you said. And I was like, what? Like, I was tripping out. So I wouldn't have done any of that. I would have gave up. And I was like, damn, I really thought like you were the man. You know? So a lot of the times I think like we're stronger than the people
Coaches.
And to what you're saying, like that's really what he was telling me. He was like, I'm just going to help you discover what's inside of you that you don't realize.
It's already there.
It's already there. I couldn't reason with it to where it even made sense for me,
Yeah.
And so like, he helped me really discover like what my true power is, which truly is leadership. But I'd always kind of stray away from that. I'd always find myself in places of leadership, but I would kind of like shy away from it. Like I didn't, because everyone, like you just said, so back to your question of like, what's the definition of a leader? A leader holds crucial conversations. That's literally what it is. Like how many uncomfortable, crucial, not just uncomfortable, but crucial conversations can you have? Because you have to have them every single day. Whether it's an employee screwing up, whether it's a vendor screwing you over, whether it's a potential partner that's screwing you in a deal. At the end of the day, you got to be able to have the conversation that says, nah, this is what I want, or this is what I need. This is how things need to go for me in order for me to like, keep moving.
But we are dropping gems right now because people just don't know this shit. Mm-hmm. Like people don't understand that. I've been talking about this with Jessica a little bit. As a matter of fact, like this is stuff that has to be done, and it's like my mindset's already like I'm doing it. I got no choice. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like okay, back into the fire. So but you just keep getting used to being in the fire after.
Yeah.
Gotta be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yep. Yeah, you know what else it was too is like. And this goes back to being around, like, who are you around? Because it's like, when you're the only guy who thinks this way, you start to think to yourself, like, maybe I'm crazy.
Or the bad guy.
Yeah, so that's how I was feeling in those moments of, like, with the time in between me addressing the issue, I'm thinking, like, now one of y'all got to address this. Y'all are the ones that are close, like, closer. Like, I feel like I don't even know what was going on until now. But then I'd start to even think to myself, like, no, like maybe I'm tripping.
That's a really good point to bring up because we start feeling like the bad guy. That's why they always say it's lonely at the top.
Yeah.
Because it truly is.
Right.
Because even the people that are like, no, man, you do it. They'll look at you crazy.
Right.
They'll be like, oh man, you're a little much. Like, motherfucker, what you want me to say then?
Right.
I'm not
You know
much.
what I mean?
I'm not
Like,
much. You're just too less.
You ain't enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So that's a big deal of what you're saying, because it's truly lonely at the top for those situations.
Right.
And you're gonna find yourself lonely at the top a lot.
And don't feel bad for. I mean, you guys don't feel bad for going to the top without the people that you started with, because it's not supposed to happen that way. Like, shit is already written out. It's just up to us. You know what I mean? To go along with it. And sometimes people are not. And you know what I mean? And like, we have some people who's supposed to come with us and they can't.
Right.
It's not because we don't want them to. It's just because they don't want to and they're not able to. You know what I mean? Because we give them the tools. It's up to you to do the work.
Right. Facts.
And you know what I mean. And you got put in a position to put in that work. And some people might not want to do it. And you was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put that work in. And
yeah,
that's that leadership role.
Facts.
Yeah, that's crazy. So going back to that. So you had that conversation, and how did they respond? Even the people that were there, how did they respond too?
So I had the conversation one-on-one. Like, it was just like, yo,
okay.
let me have this conversation. Like, let's
Face-to-face.
talk. Yeah, face-to-face, you know. And this is my brother. Like, this is like, you know, we grew up together.
Well, that's even harder.
Yeah, but here's...
Actually, you
but
know?
yeah, it was harder, but it was also one of those things where it's like we grew up together, but we never really had, like, those, like, talks. So it was kind of like, man, like, how do I...
Even more uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had the conversation, and I ended up telling other guys, like, yo, I talked to him. This is what I told him. Like, he needs to take a break or whatever for a little bit, you know. And this was honestly one of those things where it's like somebody normally would have got fired or like taken out of the company for this thing, you know? And so anyways, I had the conversation with them, and one of my partners like calls me, and he's just like, man, like, that really inspired me. Like, you know, I'm seeing where I'm falling short as a leader because of, because of how you handled that. Like, you know, we should have addressed this. So everyone knew that it needed to be addressed, but no one was willing to do it. So, yeah, that's kind of how it went. Like, and then from there, now, remember, like I said, we had the 4 friends, and then we had these other 2 partners, right? So now bro, it was the hardest year and a half of my life, bro, because it was just constant conversations like this that just had to happen, and I'm the only one that's doing it. Yeah. So now I'm the bridge between the other 2 partners and this guy, and I'm also kind of having to protect my friend. Because I don't want him to understand the full length of the. I mean, they knew the full length of the damage, but like it was also like, man, I don't want the dude to get kicked out the company for what happened, you know. So, yeah, that's kind of how that went. There,
did things become better after all that, or did it take a while? Or
it took a while. Yeah, I mean, and then like I said, then we got the other 2 partners bought out.
How long ago was that?
This was 2021.
So now who you are now.
3 years
have
later.
Passed. Your friends still be like, let's just say you had that exact same situation with the exact same people.
Yeah.
Would you have handled it a little differently? Because me now, I have the fuck it method now.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, you fucked up, dude. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna be right here. I'll mediate, but I'm going to let them destroy you. Like talk how they want to talk to you.
Right.
And I'm gonna say, if I want to say I would like to keep him on, but you guys got to say what you got to say, because you messed up. This is on you, not me.
Yeah.
You want to back yourself up. You're gonna have to do that. But I will be here trying to mediate.
Yeah.
But like me, I feel like a lot of the times they need their like a spanking. They need their ass whooped right there, right?
Yeah.
So let them get it. But how would you dealt with that now? Because you've grown so much since that time.
Right.
Obviously, right? As an entrepreneur, you just keep growing.
Are you more stern like now? Like, or is it easier for you? Is it easier for you to have those conversations now, or is it still just like?
Yeah, I mean, it's still hard. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Like it's still hard, but yeah, like, I mean, that's the same partner I fired. But I mean, we ended up bringing him back, but it was more of just like,
you need a break.
This isn't working. Like, and honestly, now he's like a superstar.
Oh,
like
really?
now it's like he came back and it's just you needed that, and I think that's just we're not having enough of that. But if how I would have handled it different, I think I agree with you. Yeah. You know, it would have just been more like one of the values I developed over that time was just like, you're you, bro. Like, I can't control you or what you go through, or, you know, at the end of the day, if you did it, you did it, and you're going to have to deal with that. I don't have the time and energy to take on something that's somebody else's responsibility.
Literally what we're talking about
Yeah.
when you're saying, like, all of us have to put, like, you know what I mean? Like, the booking and everything. We were having that conversation. We had a meeting earlier about stuff like that.
So I always think that that when this has just been like a newer thought that I've been doing and developing and practicing with every situation I deal with now, like including my kids and like a person I'm seeing and all that. So I feel like if anything, you should put even that toughness into everything. Like when you have those uncomfortable conversations, I have those with my kids when I see something I don't like, or with that person seeing, or whatever the case is. I feel like you need to do that in around your whole life.
Absolutely.
Do you feel like you put that into your life now?
Yeah, for sure. Like, man, because at the end of the day, it's like kids are just. We're all kids. We're just adult kids. Like, we got different filters now that we look through things and whatnot. But at the end of the day, like, my kids are processing things very similar to how I process them now. They just don't have all the filters that I have and the experiences that I've dealt with. But, like, I communicate differently in a sense, but it's the same. The content's the same, but the context might be a little bit different, like how I have a conversation, you know?
Okay. Yeah, I like that. So, because I mean, I think it's important to lead your home, lead where you work. Like you're like a natural born leader already, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at that like I really like want the audience to know this too, is you got to lead everywhere.
Right.
And it's not like you're trying to be the leader. It's just that's what you are, and you
Right.
just got to take the role on.
Yeah.
And it's just getting things done. You know what I mean?
Facts.
So I want to ask you another question then. So let's talk about your foundation. I mean, I feel like I know what your foundation is just from talking to you a little bit and how you're talking, but for every entrepreneur, there is the rock. There is that foundation that they build everything off of, from their family, their businesses, their kids, everything, right? Friendships, whatever. What is your foundation?
Yeah. So definitely God, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Amen.
But I think to answer your question in terms of like maybe what drives me or what keeps me going, you know, be honest, like when I was a middle school, high school, I got bullied as a kid. Like, I was literally a loser. Like, when I look back in hindsight, like, I was not the guy that I look back at myself and I'm like, man, like, I feel bad for me. But that all happened because, one, I needed to go through it. But when I was 7 years old, my dad left. He literally, and it wasn't like he just left. It was like he moved around the corner. And, you know, imagine getting dropped off at school by your grandmother and then you see your dad dropping off somebody else's family to school. Like, that's like what my experience was. And in that moment, I lost all confidence in myself. Like, I lost complete identity of who I was. I didn't know I didn't know what to do. Like, what experience in my life. I lost all confidence. I wouldn't stand up for myself. I was confused. And so really, like, as I grew and I got older and I started learning more about, like, the fact that, well, I was created on this earth. Like, I was created in the image of God, and he created me to be a creator, and realizing that he created and formed me before I was even born. Like, I wasn't born by my parents. I was born through my parents, you know? Like, they were just a conduit for me to come into this life. But he created me. Yeah, they were a vessel, but he created me to be somebody specific. And he knew what that was going to look like. And, you know, so now what it is what really continues to drive me is I want to just keep going so hard that anyone else that feels like they're in the same situation, like they feel like they're a loser, or feel like the odds were against them, or felt like they're misunderstood, that they can do it too. The people that used to bully me, their big homies look up to me now. Like, that's the type of like life I'm trying to live, where it's like anyone that ever wrote me off is going to know, like, I'm here now, you know? And I'm not here because that I'm better. I'm just here because I am who I am, you know?
That's deep.
Yeah, I like that because I feel like a lot of people that entrepreneurs or people that are really pushing so hard, like that's the drive. Like something happened in their life that drove them, and it's almost like it started out. I think a lot of times it starts out because you want to be seen. You want to be so big that maybe your dad sees you.
Right.
Or a person that you want to see you will see you.
Yeah.
How big you are. So you freaking fight so hard
Yeah.
to be that person. And then it turns into something else.
You know, it's funny, like, this is, like, recent, bro, because that was literally what it used to be. It was like, I just want to be seen. Like, I want my mom to see me, my dad to see me. I want them to look up and be like, yeah, I'm proud of you. You know, I wanted everyone that ever wrote me off to be like, oh, look what Harold's doing now. But it was through reflection and like recently, this is literally like 2 weeks ago, bro, like 2 weeks ago, because I used to hold on to it. Like, my grandmother raised me. I used to treat her like shit. Like, I didn't used to say I loved her or anything. She died when I was 17. This is a grandmother that, like, raised me, like, since from a kid to all through high school. She took me to school. She bought my school clothes, everything. I would never tell her I love her. Like, I would never really, like, show affection to her. Yeah, I was just resentful, like, and I didn't know how to receive it. And not just from her, my uncles, my aunts, everyone. Like, I just didn't know how to receive love from them. And it was because I was caught up on, well, why wasn't my dad around?
Yeah.
Why wasn't my mom around? Like, why doesn't no one give me the answers? Yeah, why doesn't anyone really want me? Like, or why does it feel like you guys only love me if I'm doing something right, or if I'm fixing the TV, or if I know how to make the printer work or whatever, you know? And so
you want to be loved at all times.
yeah, I just wanted to be loved, right?
Right.
And so I carried that for a long time. And even after I worked through it and thought that I was fine, and at the end of the day, I was still carrying it. And literally just like 2 weeks ago, like I just did a lot of reflection, a lot of journaling and whatnot. And I texted my mom, I texted my dad, I texted my uncle, who still, because literally my grandmother, my uncle, my aunt that all raised me all died in the last like 10 years.
Damn.
Like tragic deaths, and my grandmother from cancer.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, it's sad. It's crazy, but I text my dad, my uncle. My uncle was a heroin addict, so he was literally like gone our entire lives. Like, my dad hates him. Like, my dad used to have, well, he doesn't hate him. He's good with him now.
Yeah.
But he used to have dreams of like killing the guy because he was just a straight con artist.
Yeah.
But he finally ended up coming back into our lives and all that, and like, you know, shows mad love, always buying my kids gifts and stuff like that. But I never text him back. Like, he calls me, I would never answer the phone, whatever. Not because I'm mad. It's just I just didn't
Didn't know you.
I just didn't care. Like, you know, it's apathetic. But yeah, like last week or 2 weeks ago, literally I texted them all and just like, yo, like, man, I'm sorry. Like, I've been a terrible grandson, nephew, son, whatever. Like, yeah, when I was a kid, it made sense for me to, like, you know, feel bad about my situation and be angry. But I'm a grown ass man now. Like, what do I look like complaining and then holding back, you know, love from my family and whatnot, and from you guys? I'm not giving you guys a good. Like, one of my things that I want people in life to be planet shakers. That's what I want people to experience. That's what I feel like my calling is. Like, how am I holding back my dad and my mom and my uncle from being planet shakers in their lives because of the guilt that they have to hold because they weren't in my life? So, like, it was like, let me relieve them of myself, and let me relieve them of this. And then it was in that moment that I realized, like, wait a minute, I'm not doing this because I want to be seen. I'm doing this because there's somebody else out there that doesn't believe in themselves. Well, let me help them believe in themselves. And if that requires me to be seen, cool. But I'm not going to let being seen drive me. I'm going to let the fact that there's other people out there that need to experience being great.
Shit.
And that's powerful, dude. Because, like, the fact that you understand that is the biggest part of all of everything you just said.
Apologizing?
Because people cannot even understand that's what's actually going on inside of them.
Right.
They can't see it. They're just, like, pushed from the hurt and anger and all that. And then it takes away from your wife, takes away from your kids, it takes away from your life.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you got to release that.
Fact.
And I'll be honest, dude, like, I feel like we got a lot of common in that way because I feel like I released a lot of things.
Same.
Like about 5 months ago.
Like, same. My aunt raised me, and but it wasn't a thing like where like my dad, my mom couldn't have been present. So my dad, he raised my real sister.
Yeah.
But he didn't raise me. He only lived 45 minutes away, and he raised my sister. But my aunt raised me. So I feel where you're coming from. You know what I mean? And that story. You know what I mean? You have a deep testimony. I mean, you're gonna do something and touch a lot of people because there's a lot of people that's out there that going through the same thing you're going, and you're gonna be a planet shaker. You are a planet shaker.
Thank you.
Like you were saying.
Yeah, one thing I like to share on that too, though, and this is for like the people out there that do feel like, you know, whether it's a dad or a mom, and maybe they're reaching out or whatever, but you feel like, you know, you're apathetic to them, you don't want to talk to them or whatever. It's like one thing I had to realize with my dad, and this like hit me hard, like maybe almost a year ago. I realized like, wow, no matter how much I continue to not respond to this guy or not answer the phone calls, he still continues to reach out. So, like, maybe he went through whatever he went through, but, like, that guy probably loves me more than I love most people because he's willing to be rejected and still continue to reach out to me. And I think, like, a lot of us have to have that shift.
Yeah, that's deep right there. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot.
Yeah, I didn't even know we were past an hour already. So, dude, we went in. We got to bring you back. So we're going to have an entrepreneurship panel with a bunch of different entrepreneurs.
Okay.
I want to bring you back for that.
Oh, that'd be
if
dope.
you'd be down to do that.
Yeah.
But there is one last question I want to ask you that I like to ask a lot of entrepreneurs. So I feel like you answered a lot of this already, though. But if we could strip you down, all the businesses you have, the money, cars, clothes, everything that you got going on, let's strip you down from that. And if your heart could speak to us, who would it tell us you are? Who are you?
Ooh, damn, that's a deep question.
He does it sometimes. So.
If you strip me down, all the businesses I had no title basically.
Nothing. Only your heart was going to speak to us of who you are.
Yeah.
Who are you?
I'm a teacher. I'm a conduit of words that inspire people. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, man, we got to bring you back. This guy is going to be good for our entrepreneurship panel for sure.
And I got one last one. So you said the restaurant, it's Hawaiian, right?
Yeah.
So talk your shit, say whatever you got to say. Who's better, you guys or Uno Hawaiian Barbecue?
If you go to the Instagram.com/shoots.official, you'll see a post on there by an influencer that did, and it says i.e. a Hawaiian barbecue spot better than Ono's.
Oh,
yeah, y'all heard it.
And bro, like literally every person I know, and this is for people that like don't really like Hawaiian food. A lot of people.
I need to go because I like Ono, so that's why.
Okay, yeah. If you like Ono, then you ain't going back to Ono after. But there's a lot of people that don't like Hawaiian food, especially a lot of bro. There's a lot of African Americans, honestly. Like
what? It's short rib. Can't do like the fried chicken.
Yeah, or fried. So we don't do. We're like our main item now is our katsu chicken. We like baste it in a kimchi butter. So like Ono's is gonna be like just regular katsu and comes with katsu sauce.
Yeah.
Like ours don't even need sauce. Like you can eat it just how it is. But yeah, a lot of like it's usually black people. Like black people are like, yo, I don't mess with it because they don't like Ono's.
Oh.
But when they come try shoots, they're like, yo, like I've been missing out. So yeah,
y'all heard it here first.
And I'm not gonna we wouldn't have shoots if it wasn't for Ono's and places like L&L being around. So I'm not knocking them. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying.
You guys do catering?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to bring you back on, man. We're gonna get you back on for sure.
Let's get it.
You can look at the camera and just say "shed the sheet."
Which one?
This one.
Shed the sheet.
Yeah.
Oh, right now.
Yeah, I got you.
All right, cool.
I appreciate you coming on, man.
No doubt.
Bring you back,
Appreciate
dude.
you
And I know we can get into a lot more things with you.
For sure.
So
For sure.
I want to thank everybody for watching. Go ahead and like and subscribe. We're very close to hitting 25,000 subs. So please like and subscribe so we can. We're trying to get to 100,000 by the end of the year. I think we might even get further.
Before the end of the summer, we're trying to.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's
do that.
So help us out.
So go check his spot out, Shoots, and go get some Hawaiian food from over there, man. So yeah, thank you. Shed the Sheep and House Over Baz. I'm Jacob Casas.
I'm Rico Savage.
And we're out.